The Kaduna state government has relaxed the curfew in the capital and its environs earlier imposed due to the crisis.
Well, from Monday, residents became free to move between 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., but the nighttime curfew remains. And police spokesman Jimoh Moshood said 93 suspects have been arrested in connection with the recent violence there.
So far, we have arrested 93 suspects for being responsible, actively responsible for the crisis in Kasua Magani in Kaduna South and for other crises that occurred in other locations within Kaduna State. 43 of these suspects are being prosecuted as we speak, while 50 are currently in police custody. An investigation is being rounded up into their involvement in these activities. We are deep into the investigation of that matter, and some suspects have been arrested, but I won't tell you this is the particulars or the details of this suspect, because we want to ensure that anybody that have hand in the killing of the traditional rulers, for whatsoever reason, is arrested and prosecuted.
Security expert Dennis Amakre is here with us to discuss this. Good morning to you and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
And also joining us from our Abuja studio is former Commissioner of Justice, Kaduna State, Mark Jacob. Good morning to you, Mark, for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, we've been told so many times that the problem with the security situation in Kaduna State is quite historical, but it keeps festering every single time, and it's a cause for concern right now. How were you able to address this when you were a Commissioner of Justice then? Because many have said that lack of prosecution is preventing people, the victims, that have closure, and is enabling others to want to continue with the impunity.
Well, first of all, let me say that the narration sometimes is jaundiced, in the sense that crisis is not part of our history. Yes, we have had skirmishes here and there in Kaduna State, but it is not correct to paint Kaduna State as a constant venue or theater for crisis. Now, in 2000, there was crisis. 1999, 2000, there was the popular or famous Sharia crisis that engulfed the entire North. And there were very serious efforts targeted at restoring peace. And I remember that at that period, there was effort by government quietly to go underground, engage the people, talk to leaders, and get people to agree that this country belongs to all of us and that we all cannot, as a matter of fact, become one religion at one time. And the need to coexist together was emphasized. And most of this activity was done without cameras, without much hype on publicity. Unlike what we have today, where a simple visit or a discussion with traditional rulers or community leaders will be covered by the media and everybody will be making speeches left, right, and center. We have a situation where a government enjoys too much publicity and wants to do everything to public applause. This cannot bring peace. And I'm assuring you that as long as we just continue to play to the gallery, as long as government officials continue to act for cameras, there will be no peace building. So many things can be done, but it has to go, government officials need to leave their comfort zone, go to the people, engage the people, talk to the people, and attempt to answer some of the questions that are being asked.
It's all right, Mark Jacob. Let's stay with you for a bit. The issue of justice is paramount here. A similar attack occurred in February earlier this year, killing about 15 people. A total of 65 people alleged to have been involved in that crisis were arraigned in court, but the case is still pending. What's being done to fast track, a dispensation of justice, like Azizat said, so that these people can have closure. Most of the attacks in most cases have been reprisal in their nature.
Certainly, let me tell you, the biggest challenge is that our security agencies are never present when crises occur. They act after the event. And you have people who you cannot pin down to the events. Most of them are arrested sometimes based on hearsay. Somebody goes to make a report that he saw this and that person holding a dagger or a gun, and that person is arrested. And when you come to prosecution, no matter how strong a suspicion is, it cannot give you conviction before a court. So the challenge in our hands is that every time there is a crisis, the security agencies are absent. They come in after the event. And therefore, they are not able to pin down and get the real actors when they are perpetrating their act. And so it is those who have access to government sometimes, those who have access to government functionaries or the security agencies that make quick to allege that so and so person was involved. And it is this kind of people that are arrested. But those who perpetrate the act are fond of finishing their act, cleaning up, and withdrawing from the scene before the security agencies arrive.
Okay.
This has happened everywhere in Kaduna State. And that is the challenge with prosecution. You cannot prosecute people properly when you didn't catch them on the scene.
And then you wonder really how that has been happening when people will call out the police to come rescue them, but most of the time. Anyway, I will come to you in a bit. Let me come to you now, Dennis. Historically, like I said earlier, at least for the past 4 decades, you know, recurring crisis in that state. And a guest earlier talked about the reason for that, because we've talked about killings, crisis every time, but what is the root cause of the problem? Because until you get to the root cause, it seems that the solution might not be got easily. Why does it seem that people in Kaduna State are not, I don't want to say they are not united, but somehow they don't see themselves as one?
Well, you have to look at the root cause, just like you said. Basically, the problem in Kaduna State is hinged on the religious issue and ethnicity. And these are 2 major national security threats that they have in Kaduna State. You know, but for it to fester for all these years, also tell you another thing. It tells you about ineffective leadership, and then of course bad governance, because and of course the justice system that he was referring to, because people go to court, and we now hear about it again. Look at the police public relations man was making a statement, and he said that they've arrested some people. And you know, I'm even surprised they didn't parade them this time, but I can tell you within 2 months you don't hear anything about it.
Well, it said 43 of the 93 are being prosecuted while investigation is ongoing.
That's what
50.
we are being told, and that is where it will end. You see, the ineffective, the investigations are not carried out very well in this country. Just some couple of days ago, remember what happened in New York? You know, where somebody was sending bombs, and we don't know where it come from, but people, very top people were sent bombs, letter bombs. And I was telling my wife, I said, watch it. In 48 hours, they're going to get this guy. And they did. You know, they did, because, you know, they leverage on forensic science, all kinds of sources of investigation to do this.
Security operatives were necessarily not there when he committed that crime.
Nobody was there.
From a communal clash to the kidnapping and killing of a monarch, some say it's too many occurrences in 1 month for Kaduna.
Yes.
And now the state government seems to have relaxed the curfew. What kind of security framework do you expect such that we won't witness more violence in the coming days?
You know, I will keep on saying it in different fora, that there are so many ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. Look at the landmass of Nigeria. We have about 350 or so policemen.
Police officers.
They are not governing the spaces. There are ungoverned spaces, spaces that are independent for criminals to operate. So we need a restructure where you want to maybe make sure that all spaces are known, everybody is known. We don't know how many people are in Nigeria, we don't know where they are, so it becomes a problem, really. That's part of the governance issue that we are having now, because you cannot continue to use the same structure that we inherited from independence till now.
All right, Mark, what can be done really to get peace, not relative peace now, conditional peace, where the curfew has been relaxed for a period and then it's still very more pronounced later in the day? Because it seems that if the people do not, come together, no matter the number of security operatives that are stationed in Kaduna, once they leave, everything could go awry again. So how can peace be guaranteed? What strategy do you think would be more effective?
Well, the security expert seated with you there has said it all. We cannot continue to do things the way they were being done in the 60s and expect a different result. You have a situation that occurs and reoccurs. Last year, for instance, town after town in our communities were being attacked. And the response of government and its agencies will be the same. Moving after the attacks, declare a curfew. After 48 hours, you relax the curfew, and then life goes back to the same thing. And then the next time there's another attack, the same thing happens. We have continued to do the same thing the same way for ages. And the result is the same, zero effectiveness. Now, we have to do what the famous writer in the book 1984, George Orwell, called de-education. Those in charge of administration of justice, those in charge of the executive, need to de-educate themselves, remove what they have implanted in their heads, and put something new. We need to approach this situation differently from what has been happening. You cannot continue to do the same archaic approach. Imagine that Nigeria Air Force is just now, today, mobilizing extra jets and men to the ground during the curfew, when no activity is taking place. At the point the crisis was happening, for God's sake, where were the jets? Where were the sniper jets, the cameras, all the things that government has been boasting about? Where were they? Why is it that we don't have footage, pictures of people in action? Why is it that we cannot even stop something from happening when it is brewing?
Exactly.
Government will only mobilize after people have been killed.
If I can ask you this very quickly, because
and then we lost our king.
We're looking at a legacy of violence.
Abducted for 5 days, and nothing could be done.
We're looking at a legacy of violence that has bedeviled the state for over 4 decades, arguably. But the question is, what has happened to previous peace efforts? Would you say that there's been indeed sincerity on the part of stakeholders, and what can be done differently this time?
Government needs to cool down. All this attempt or approach of threats, like I heard the governor of Kaduna State say they will deal with ruthlessly with all those involved. They are going to prosecute, they are going to criminalize people. That has not stopped the events occurring. And you keep talking like this every time, and it has not yielded result. Change, re-strategize, engage the people, find out what is the underlying issue that keeps brewing up and causing problems in Kasua-Magani, for instance. There must be something there that is causing the problem. But it has not been discussed. And government just keeps on beating about the bush, threatening people, sometimes talking about demolition of towns or villages. That is not the solution.
Okay.
We need to do something differently. The experts are there, they will give you solutions. But I think that engaging the people is the #1 issue.
Absolutely.
And not with cameras and the public glare.
All right, Mark. Yes, indeed, the people need to understand that they need to, cohabit harmoniously. Let's look at the reactive system of security that security agencies practice in Nigeria. Almost many Nigerians have accused them at one point or the other that they are just not proactive. Would you say this is the best time again, to talk about state police?
Of course, this reactive system is not taking us anywhere. In fact, it is giving the country a bad name, and police forces are supposed to be very, very proactive, especially with the intelligence agencies that we have. They should be able to. The whole idea of intelligence is to make sure that you gather the necessary intelligence, which is actionable to stop and prevent what would have happened. And we are not doing that because we have this same situation of people coming around and politicians they'll politicize it. And then the government will come and say, we're looking into it, we're investigating, condemn it, always condemning the act, but nothing is being done about it. So we might also need some kind of political will, because I think our politicians are becoming partisan, and Nigerian lives matter. One single life. Now, a lot of people are dead and they buried them, some in shallow graves and whatever, and nobody knows who they are. A single life is important.
It's important.
The federal government recently listed Kaduna as one of the states where it attempts to mop up, small arms and all of that. How effective do you think that can be executed?
I don't think it's well done, because there is a serious proliferation of arms in Nigeria. In fact, the arms that we have in the country is frightening, because they are coming in from all angles into the place, and police had tried to mop up a few, but those were just media events. I think the real arms are still with people.
Okay, Mark, finally, would you suggest that a Truth and Reconciliation Commission or something similar to it should be put in place so that people can come forward really to discuss their grievances and then, chart a new course for themselves?
First of all, I want to agree with Mr. Amakri there that governments need to step up in being honest and winning the confidence of the people they govern. There is no way you can bring peace when you are not trusted by anybody. I'm sorry, but the governor of Kaduna State has antagonized virtually everybody. And across board, north, south, east, anywhere in the state, people are disenchanted and angry with him. And he needs to go back and find out why. Nobody trusts him. And things are getting worse every day. So when you have led people to that level where they don't trust you, there is no way they can believe you when you are appealing for peace. I think government needs to stand up, step back a little, and do a little reconciliation with itself and its people. The people you are governing need to trust you. There is no trust between the government and the people. And that is the very foundation of what we are talking about. Absolutely. If we want peace, the government has a lot more to do, particularly in Kaduna State. Win back the confidence and trust of people. Then they can listen to you when you set up a commission or a committee.
It's all right. Mark Jacob is former Justice Commissioner in Kaduna State, who joined us from our Abuja studio. Thank you very much for making it on the show. We also have Danny Zamakri, security expert, here with us in Lagos. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you for coming.